What in the world? Survivor Canberra's back in 2025.
That's right, Liv. Applications to play Season 5 are open now.
If you've ever wanted to experience Survivor, this is your chance. And the best part is, Survivor Canberra all happens over one weekend.
Yep, we're filming Survivor Canberra Season 5 on the 12th and 13th of April 2025, and we promise it'll be an experience like no other.
If you want to have a unique weekend, challenge yourself and make new friends, apply for Survivor Canberra Season 5 now by clicking the link below.
Applications are open until the 17th of January 2025.
Don't believe us? Survivor Canberra's own Sab is here with her own testimonial.
Playing Survivor Canberra was a once-in-a-lifetime experience and was so much fun.
Cut. Sab. You only said it 2 times. You meant to say it 5 times.
Playing Survivor Canberra truly was an experience of a lifetime and was so much fun.
Well, I don't know what happened there, but hey, we learned from our lessons. But anyway, I'm gonna follow on from Dan. Welcome to the Backbenchers podcast. That was a little bit of technical difficulties, but what Dan was trying to say is that casting is open for the next season of Canberra Survivor. It's really going to be cool. Going to be an awesome time. If you're not keen to play, there's going to be crew applications in the near future. It's a really good experience. I highly suggest everyone involved. We'll play the video at the end of the episode as well if you want to check the whole thing out, or if you want to check it out on Canberra Survivor's Facebook page. They have the whole video up there. Yet to hear from Sab and her experience, and we're going to hear from a few today. Welcome to the podcast for the first time, Miguel. Miguel, how are we doing tonight?
Hello, I'm doing good. Thanks, representing the Latin community. I'm happy to be here.
I love that. And obviously, it's not a Backbenchers podcast if we don't have this legendary man on the bottom here. We got Jordo. You're back, man. We're back together.
It's been a while. I had a little holiday. Well, I didn't, but holiday from the pod. And here we are again. It's exciting.
Hey, we love it. We love it, and it's going to be an exciting night. Merge episode, really cool. It's a good one to be on. Sam and me swapped this one. I'm not super unhappy about it. You know, it's a cool opportunity to chat everything, and we got some cool people on board. And the good news is, we had technical difficulties last time with this person, and they're here with good internet. We're super excited to talk to them. I'm going to welcome straight onto the pod to start off. It's a banger of an episode to start, and we got Maddie on. Hi, Maddie. How are you?
Hi. I have internet.
Yeah.
So first off, Maddie, just in general, we obviously just saw a very badly 30-second version of the video for casting applications, and we want to obviously get your opinion. What was your experience on Canberra Survivor as a whole, and would you recommend it to people that are keen to apply?
Yeah, so I actually applied because Mao from season 2 introduced me to it. So he got me into it, and honestly, it's like the best thing I ever did. Like, I'm not a huge Survivor fan. Like, I had seen snippets as a kid growing up, like we used to have it in the background on TV and stuff. And I watched season 1 of Canberra Survivor. And yeah, when I found out I got in, I was like, no, like this is weird. Like, no, surely not. And then when I did, I was like so excited. And it honestly blew my mind how professional it was. Like, people like chasing you with like little GoPros and like proper video cameras, like. It's just insane. And then like, even they're like, we're going to put a mic on you. I'm like, what? Like, no. So yeah, it's actually like, it's the coolest thing I've ever done. And I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it just pushes you in ways that you never thought you would push yourself. And I just wanted to keep playing. So I was so cut when I got like eliminated or like snuffed. I was just like, oh. I love that Dan put that in the promo. What was that?
That you played pretty well up to there, though. It was a good game. You didn't
go
out boring, that's for sure.
Yeah, so speaking of that, obviously, of course, your time in the game was cut a bit premature. I felt like I actually mentioned it in our cast assessment that I was like, yeah, I felt like you had a lot of potential, and if it was either it's a situation of you either go really far or you get cut when you shouldn't. We were expecting so much more, and it was just a situation of just an unlucky situation. I feel like, how have you felt watching it back? Was how you felt at the game different to how you felt watching it, and what was the process of dealing with all of that?
So when I was playing the game, I was like, okay, I've got an alliance. Like, I felt like I was doing okay. It was just a lot of people like have said, well, not a lot of people, but like people that I've spoken to have said that my error was sending Anthea across because she was part of my alliance. And I totally understand that now. And I look back at that because I have talked my game multiple times with Mao, for example. Like, I'm like, but what about this? And what about this? And like, what if I'd done this? And other people, like, I was talking about it for ages. Like, I just couldn't get over it. I was like, I did something wrong. But I know, like, sending Anthea probably wasn't my best choice, but the reason I did that was because I thought it might have been like a call and response or like a challenge where someone had to perform. Because my initial thought was to send Aiden because I tried to save him and then he thought that I didn't like him, that I voted him anyway. So that it was like, well, I may as well send him. But then I was like, what if it's like I don't know, some sort of challenge where you actually have to be like a bit louder? And I was like, well, Abs is probably the next quietest. And like, I love Abs, but I was just like, at least if I send her, it's going to be like either way it will be okay. And I didn't even think it was going to be a swap because, you know, I'm a dodo here, didn't even know that, like, because I hadn't watched, you know, a lot of Survivor, so I didn't even think that was a thing. And then yeah, when she like went to the other side, I was like, well, now I'm kind of stuffed, like I've got no options, you know what I mean? Like so that was probably my one thing that I kind of regret doing. But like, I think the swap screw was like the biggest part that really like stuffed me over. Do you know what I mean? And the only other thing I could have done is gone and hugged Anthea and been like, give me the paper so I could swap tribes. Like, all of this is like hindsight. Do you know what I mean? Like, in the game,
Yep.
I really thought they were going to vote Sab out and not me. Like, I was just like,
Yep.
she has a sore knee. Like, vote her out. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, I'm sweet. And then when the names started coming out, I was like, well, no, I'm not sweet. And then I like thought about all the alliances I could have tried. And then the only one that might have worked is an all girls one.
Yeah, because I definitely agree with you saying the hindsight. Because then it could have been they were the captains for the next tribe swap, and you picked Anthea, and that was great because she picks you, and then she picks Eden, and then she picks Bethany, and you're in the majority. That could have been what it is. I feel like everyone likes to act like they know once it happens, but they don't know when they're put in the spot. Miguel or Jordo, and any particular questions that?
Yeah, I was gonna ask Maddie. Like you mentioned, you haven't seen a lot of Survivor before. Do you think that was probably a disadvantage, or could that be an advantage for a future player that wants to go there? Like, what do you think about that? Did that affect your game?
I think it affected my game because I was like not aware of like what an idol might potentially look like or what I should be looking for. Or I guess my social game was really all I kind of had. Like, physically, like I don't know, like I said in my intro video, like, yeah, I've been going to the gym. Yeah, I was, but like that didn't help me at all. Like, and like, let's be real, I was going to the gym like twice a week. Like, come on. But yeah, like I think not knowing like Survivor, like I think I took everyone too much for face value. I was like, yeah, okay. But I also was trying to like, I think it was kind of an advantage in a way because then I didn't overthink things too much. Like, you know, in thinking that, oh, you know, I don't even know how to explain like what I mean by that, but just like not overthinking what people were saying. And like, whereas if I was thinking, oh, they're using a strategy, like then I might have overthought what they were saying to me.
Yeah, I think we're seeing some like total opposites of people are maybe are not that into Survivor and get to play more for the experience and meeting others. And there's the players that have seen every single season and every single swap and twist and everything. Like Eden already knowing it was gonna be like a two tribes going to vote out someone, right? Like that's overplaying a little bit, and it could also hurt you in the end.
Yeah, and same with Oscar, like knowing it was going to be a tribe swap. He was like the only one that said it, and everyone was just like, meh.
But Maddie, looking back, like you just said, you know, what if some, you know, the regrets, what if I did this, what if I did that?
Yeah.
You're also looking back and like thinking how good you played the game because you did. Like you had a special game and you didn't ever think, you just played it and you're in the moment. So like, you know, how do you feel about that side of it?
Yeah, like when I look back, I'm like, okay, I actually sat in a good position. I think my one thing was maybe like if I had known not to be maybe as outspoken, like Bethany, I was watching when she was like, I really wanted John to go up, not Maddie, but Maddie just kind of was like, she was obviously trying to hint to me, don't go. And I'm just like, yeah, I'll go. Like the whole time, like no like worries whatsoever. Just like, I'll do it. Like, I think that was kind of like a disadvantage. But like in terms of advantages, I look and I'm like, yeah, okay, I set myself into a good 4. We had like trust, like even though me and Eden couldn't get it right on the flip vote and all that, like we still kind of were like all with each other. So I think I had set myself in a good position, and I don't think I did badly in challenges. I think like the marble one is like my favorite one. Like I thought that was so good. I loved that. But yeah, I think when I look back, I'm like not happy with what I did. I just know that I just maybe was like too loud and got like swap screwed basically.
Yeah, a lot of things are based on luck, right? And being in a new tribe and being outnumbered, not having much time to actually act on it.
Yeah.
Like that affects it. But what if your tribe was 4 of your original? Like who in your previous tribe would you have chosen to come with you? Who was like
I
the
would
person you would love to
absolutely have been Anthea, Bethany, and Eden. And even I would have been happy with John or Squin. Like it was just Aiden that I knew I upset, and I wanted to save him originally. I don't know how much I want to say. I wanted to save him, but then I voted him, and that's terrible. And I was like stabbed with the knife. But like then I voted Jay, so technically I did save him. You know, I would have been happy with anyone. It's just I knew that Aiden had bad blood with me, and as soon as that spread, and I was an open book, and I was like, yeah, I voted him out, but then and it didn't come across the way that I was trying to prove that I saved him, if that makes sense. Like the way I told the like Jin and Dara's like originals about it, it came across as like, no, you voted him out. Like I should have just shut up. Let's be real. I need to learn to do that a bit more often.
You and me both, Maddie. I think that's definitely a thing. So my question is, if you were to play again, what would be the lessons you would give to yourself as like, here's what I would do differently?
Shut up. That would be me. Like stop. It's like saying things like even like, for example, when we were looking for the clue, and I know this is like a few episodes back because obviously like trying to get me on the pod was really hard because of like my travel and stuff like that. But like even with the well thing, like I was like water, and then like I said it out loud, and then I was with Anthea and Bethany. I was like, why? Like why are you doing that? Just be quiet. Just have a go. Like if it's not there, you're not losing anything. Just shut up. Like so that's probably my biggest thing. And yeah, I think I like maybe would take some more risks. Like I kind of just stuck to that 4. Like there was a moment with John where I was like, yeah, I want to work with you. And then I was like, I could have been playing like the middle a little bit more. And then maybe Aiden wouldn't have not liked me as much, and like I could have repaired that. But yeah, and I think maybe I loved working with Squin, and I wish that could have happened for a bit longer, but maybe I should have flipped on Squin and Aiden and got there first to save myself. But like that's not me as a person. Like I want to be a villain like Ursula, but I'm not. I'm like Flounder. I'm like the little fish that just kind of goes along as like the hero-y kind of thing. I don't know why I'm doing that with my hand. But yeah.
Yeah, I that's what I love about you. That's literally what the Survivor Canberra singer is saying. I think you're very authentically you. You were heart on your sleeve. I'm just gonna be me. And if you love me, you love me. If you hate me, you hate me. And that's what I love people, because some people that are Survivor fans, super fans, they're so worried about the results of the game and doing well and making it to this step and just getting there. They sometimes pull back and they don't fully embrace the experience. And I felt like even though you didn't last as long as you wanted to, I feel like you definitely embraced the experience as much as possible. What was it like being so authentic with cameras on you? Was that an interesting experience, or was that just came naturally?
No, I think you forget they're there. Like you just like when you see someone standing close to you like this, like filming, like they're there, but like you're so like in your game and like trying to like figure out what your next move is that you're not even worried. So I think like I didn't even care. Like the only thing I was worried about, I was like, did I swear a lot? Like this is not a good look for me. Like as a teacher, I can't be swearing a lot. And I'm actually surprised. Like I don't think I swore a lot at all. I don't even think I dropped anything, to be honest. Maybe I said idiot, but like that's probably about it. Like and like, but yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Any other questions, Miguel or Jordo? Just top of your head?
Nah. She said it all. She answered my question. It was just good watching you and being yourself. And you might have got out a bit earlier than I expected, but it was you played a good game and you had great airtime and it was great to watch. So
yeah, I think you played a great game, Maddie. I think like the beginning of the game was like really solid for you, and have the tribe stick longer in those situations, it would have lasted way longer. I mean, with swaps, we never know what could happen, right? And you went into that challenge, like the duel, and I actually thought you were winning that duel. So like, how do you feel in that moment? Was there a
Don't
lot of
talk to me
pressure?
about that. I hated that duel. Like, knots are my enemy now. Like, I just was in like Turkey, and knotting a carpet is like a skill, and I was like, this is too much. This is like, I just watched the episode. I can't look at this lady.
Triggered.
Do not.
Okay, well, yeah. So to wrap it up, I would just say the final question I have is if someone was to, if you would, what would be, how would you want to be remembered for being on this season? What if you would look back on Maddie this season? What do you think? What impact do you feel like you left on the game? So I think you definitely left a pretty big impact.
I think like maybe just like sticking to my alliance and like trying to like work as a team and like trying to get like our majority like forward. Do you know what I mean? Like I was like willing to do anything basically to keep Bethany, Eden, and like Anthony around. So I think I'd wanted to be known for that, and maybe just like for giving anything a go, like, and you know, being the most what was it again? The most peppy. Yeah, the most peppy. I'd like that.
We actually have one question here from James, but just to wrap it up, what was your personal favorite part of the experience, Maddie?
I think it was connecting with like the people that I connected with in like the game, I think. And getting to do like the challenges. Like I didn't think I would love them so much, but I was like, yes, I love this. And then I think I even like want to try do challenges like again that like I wasn't so great at. So yeah, knots, for example. I'm just like, can I borrow that challenge and try and beat it? Like but yeah, like even like making friends with people. Like I saw Dan this year when he came over to Europe. I saw Bethany in New Zealand. Like it's just been like making all the friends and stuff like that. It's been like such a nice experience.
Well, yeah, that's the best thing about this community. I think Canberra in particular really has a very good community that all is very close, and it's such a privilege that you gave us your time. I know you're in a whole different time zone, and you got all this stuff going on. And
I was glad to get on.
What time is it?
We're so proud of you.
It's 10 to 10 in the morning.
Oh, jeez. On Monday, wow.
On Monday, yeah.
Well, as I said, we appreciate you coming on, and we really think, we really truly hope you believe that you had a great game, and if we ever get the chance to see you play again, we'd love to have you back, and I look forward to seeing what you have in the future going on.
Thanks, I appreciate it, and like thanks for making the time to have me on. I really like love sharing on the pod. I haven't been on a pod in such a long time, since season 2. I had to be, back on it. But yeah, thanks guys.
Thanks, Maddie.
Awesome. Thank you, Maddie.
Yeah.
I love that. That was awesome. That was really good. Thank you so much, James, for the question. If you guys have any questions for any of the other interviews we got coming up, feel free to leave them in the comments. But yeah, I definitely feel like we talked obviously about it, but I definitely think Maddie's stamp is authenticity. She definitely played a game that was 100% her, and it was a take it or leave it kind of thing. And it just was a scenario of the rocks didn't draw the way that she intended it to draw. And so yeah, so the way that we're going to do today's episode, guys, is we got a lot of interviews to get through. So we're kind of going to, instead of going through the episode from start to finish, we're going to mainly just talk about really highlight points and try and really nail them down. Just so we're not yapping on for 3 hours. I know I'd love to talk to these guys for as long as humanly possible, but I got a bedtime and I'm exhausted. So
we're going to start 8 o'clock yet. Wake up. Let's go.
So we're going to start off with obviously the final duel. That was the big start off of this episode. It was the drool. Yeah, the drool. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
What was everyone's thoughts on it? Obviously, for anyone that didn't catch it, it was between Amy, Squin, and John, and it went down to that last little bit where they all kind of dropped off, and John was the last left, just like that. And so, what is everyone's thoughts on John getting back in, and how the duel went down?
I think it's always difficult whenever you see someone that is winning duels like over back to back, right? Like I think everyone was rooting for Amy at that point. Like she's beating everyone. And then in that moment, like it's on, like, right? It doesn't matter if you won 5, 10 times before. It's that moment, is that second. It might be 3 seconds difference. We saw that. But anyone can win it. So like I was low-key rooting for Amy to just like win them all, but this is how it works, right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was devastated because I remember in the very first pod, I predicted that she'd probably be the first voted out. So for her to be safe and then win each duel each time, I'm like, yes, good. Because I never wanted her to go. And then just to get to that little spot and then to just lose, I was like, no. I literally yelled at the TV, like, not even joking. I was
it was definitely devastating. Definitely devastating when Amy dropped out. As I said, I put her on my mountain last episode, as I was like, I was just loving the consistent wins. I was like, I love a battle back queen. It's a shame that it ended there, but I feel like she wouldn't be disappointed with that. I think she definitely wouldn't say that she went into the game expecting to be a challenge beast. So you can having that on the resume is fantastic. Yeah. And speaking of Amy, why don't we just bring her in? Because we're already going to chat about it, so why not bring her in? We got another fantastic guest. We're going to bring Amy on. Amy, welcome to the Backbenchers podcast. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm mid-holiday at the moment, so I'm nice and relaxed and tan, so that's lovely.
And darker hair.
We love that.
Yeah. This is my natural hair. I forgot that I had blonde-ish hair for the recording. It was a blast from the past when I was watching myself.
Like, who is that person?
So Amy, obviously, yes, we're talking. We'll start off with the duel. Talk to me about that. I feel like was it kind of a case of? I feel like maybe I don't want to. Obviously, I'm not inside your head, but I feel like maybe when you were voted out first, you saw the challenge, you maybe went, like I got to win all these challenges to get back in, and I understand. And a natural thought would be like, this is going to be tough. You know, I got Jay, and then I got this person, I got to beat all these people, and they only have one challenge. I got to do all these challenges. Was it hard to mentally be prepared to do all these challenges? And did you naturally get more confident as it got on, or was it more nerves because you're getting closer to potentially being back in?
I think it changed depending on which challenge we're talking about. I think in the beginning, like against Jay, it's like, okay, well, it's just this one. Like, I just have to focus on this one. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that challenge and I saw that there was a puzzle at the end, I was like, okay, well, I'm confident about that part. I was less confident about the throwy, bally things. And it was just kind of luck and perseverance that got me through that part. And then with Maddie, it was like it could have gone either way. But I think I was riding on a little bit of confidence from the one with Jay. And then the slingshot ones, a weird fact about me is that I'm weirdly very good at, I knew I was really good at archery at that point. I've also since found out that I'm weirdly good at axe throwing. So it's just kind of, I felt a little bit more confident with that because I knew that I had some sort of aim. And then if anything, I was maybe a little bit cocky going into the thrill at the end because I had won everything and I kind of forgot to focus on the fact that it was just this one thing. You know, it didn't really matter what I'd done before that to get me to that point because, you know, at the end of the day, if you see, you know, a block full of squins post, that was all that took me to lose my concentration on that one.
I'm not going to
sorry, just saw a question. I'll whack it up. So I don't know. Sorry, I put the wrong one up. Did you plan for what you'd do if you got back into the game? Were you thinking that far ahead, or did you think you obviously had a lot of time to think?
Yeah, I had a lot of time to think. A lot of singing time as well, because there's literally nothing to do in the swamp. So all I knew that it was going to be personally hard for me to get back with the Ginendera team, not the team itself, but the original Ginendera tribe. Just because mentally I was so sure on my part that they had voted me out because of what I look like and my physical attributes. I think that's what I was mentioned that in a chat with Jay, maybe. I was like Maddie, like I was a complete newbie to Survivor. And in fact, I watched my first Survivor, non-Canberra Survivor episode this week since the first season. Just happened to be on free-to-air TV in Longreach, of all places. So I didn't know social game was a thing. Like I didn't know you could get voted out for being too nice, effectively. So I was concerned that they would have just written me off completely. So I knew that as more and more original Currawong tribes came my way, that my pool of potential allies was dwindling as well. So I think in the back of my head, I was like, okay, well, I'll just see how I go, basically, and see what happens at the other end of this if I get through it.
Yeah, well, I'll have that answer. Any questions, guys? I'll leave it. Give the floor to you guys.
No, I was just going to say how annoyed I was that, like, you know how there was a countdown for them to get ready. I'm like, surely that could have been another preparation time because the countdown hadn't finished. So really, they had that time to put their blocks back on and be prepared. I was pissed off when that was like John won. I'm like, bullshit, they're still counting down.
Yeah, personally, I would have had them. You had it up past the timer, but hey, you know, the call was made. Maybe it was scheduling issues. I don't want to.
But if it was, that's the problem with a live transition, right? They're giving you 10 seconds. Have Amy just waited there, not done anything. She would have stayed. But then, how do you know if you're going to be able to get there on time, right?
Yeah.
You never know when it's a live transition if it's going to work for you or not. To wait until the last second to try to put it on place, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things I remember being really, the first one I felt fine with, but the second one, for whatever reason, I felt panicked by the time. Like, I think it was maybe because stakes were higher, maybe it's because I had an audience as well. Like, it was kind of interesting seeing all these faces that I'd seen in the game kind of realize that I'd made it that through that far, but also they're there watching you potentially win or fail at that point, and I think that got into my head a little bit as well.
Yeah, because in the previous duels, it was just you, right? Like you were not having other people looking at you while doing the challenges, and also this one was at night, so I can imagine you had the lights, you had the camera, you have the players, you got everyone just watching you if you're gonna fail or not, right? So that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I'm blaming everyone else. They distracted you. That's not fair. I want to replay.
Yeah, let's go back. we'll go refill the second half.
I love this question. I'm just going to whack up from Eden. What Taylor Swift song do you feel like sums up your experience in the game?
Well, it wasn't out then, but I feel like it would be Who's Afraid of Little Old Me at this point.
I love that. That's a great answer.
Yeah, I feel like that's me. I mean, maybe I was predicting the future with my experience. Maybe she wrote it about me. Maybe.
So any questions, particular guys? I got a question, or if anyone else has a question, I feel like I've been asking a lot, so I just want to make sure. But yeah, I'll go. So something that I've been a lot of crews, and I've often had to deal with and handle a lot of people that go early, and I know that it can suck, and I know it can be a really you can feel defeated. You can do a whole like, what's wrong with me and stuff like that. I hope that you definitely go out of this game being proud that you didn't give up at all. And I know how easy it is to just be like, whatever, like I'll just do whatever, and I just won't care. And the fact that you had multiple different challenges and you just kept going, do you look back on the experience positively, and are you proud of yourself in the way that you played?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I've never done anything like this. I think the closest that I've got is like an escape room or something like that, where it's with your friends. But the fact that it was completely me doing all these things that I'd never done before, and I think I even said in my exit interview, probably will never do again. But it's, you kind of put it on the spot to do this task, do it fast, do it the most accurate, as accurate as you can. And to keep, pulling all the stops out, and for the most part, except for that damn second at the end, succeed at them. That's, plus, it's a boost of adrenaline that, like, you don't kind of expect it because it's only a weekend. It's not, the weeks on end that the real Survivor is, but it really kind of puts you in the right headspace, and you're always thinking on your feet. You're always kind of analyzing things. I wish that I kind of acted and made connections earlier on than I did, because perhaps, I wouldn't have ended up in my swamp. I'm calling it my swamp now because I feel like I spent the most time there. But yeah, like you definitely walk out the other end feeling proud. I feel like no matter how you did, you'll always question whether you could have done better, but I just tried to hold on to the things that I was really proud of.
110%. I always say to people, I've had 6-hour conversations with winners about what they would have done differently. Yeah. So the fact, you will always have what ifs. So let's talk about your vote out, of course, because I think there was two things that particular. So one, you mentioned something in the backstage before we started that you can bring up yourself, but something that we heard a lot when we were doing the podcast was you took an ill-advised bathroom break, like a poorly timed bathroom break. Talk to us about that, and talk to us about your thoughts on the vote out and how that thought, and was it a blindside? Did you know about it? What was the whole process of that experience?
Yeah, so there was a poorly timed toilet break. It wasn't a long one, so I can't believe all of that happened while I was peeing. But so me and Andrew were talking, and we probably talked for longer, but I think in my head, as you remember, the tribal council previously was a super long one because they kept going back to revote. So I think I had misjudged how much time that we had as well. So I was like, cool, I can quickly go to the bathroom, come back and talk to more people. And unfortunately, when I came back, we're being told to line up to go in. However, I don't know if this was caught on camera and just didn't end up being included, or if it just wasn't caught on camera because we were lining up to go in. I started chatting with Todd, and Andrew came up to us, and I don't know if he just presumed that I was another player or just wasn't thinking or whatever, but Andrew said, so we're voting for Amy, right? So I was like, what? And Todd's like, just kind of nodding, hoping that I wouldn't, notice, I guess. So that was the first inkling that something was wrong. So as we're kind of lining up and walking in, I realized, okay, well, if Andrew's coming up to me, the one person that I had spoken to in that entire time, saying, so we're voting for Amy, right? I was like, okay, I think I'm going at this point. And obviously I did. Yeah. So it was good to have the kind of preface of that, I suppose. It probably would have been a lot more of a shock if I just found out during tribal council. It also looked like I was about to cry in my exit interview, or my to the swamp interview, I suppose. But I actually stood in a fire ant's nest right before that interview, so that's where those tears are coming from. So yeah, that I think if anything, it just kind of I don't know. I think I was a little bit pissed off. I don't know if it probably didn't come across that way, but pissed off in a way that kind of encourages you to do the best that you can and kind of urges you on to do better.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Amy, now that the next season, we're having casting for season 5 and all of that, is there any advice and a tip you would give to anyone that wants to apply besides don't go in a toilet break before the first tribal? Is there any other advice you will tell?
And don't stand in the ant's nest.
You don't stand in an ant's nest, and also wear loose pants because there was a lot of mozzie bites that weekend as well. But I would probably say just don't get caught up on people wanting to be a team. I know there was a lot of talk about that from the Ginninderra tribe, and that's good. At the end of the day, I came here to, make friends and have a good time, and I'm the sort of person that I would want to talk to people and form connections, no matter what it is. But remember that it is also a solo thing. So if you want to, get up and explore a little bit, if you wanted to pull somebody aside and, say, hey, how about we just go check over here so you can start creating those connections early on, do it. Because otherwise you get to the point where you eventually will lose a challenge because, you just can't not lose a challenge. It doesn't work that way. And, then you're all kind of thrown into this point of view where you pair off in twos to try and make a decision of who's going home.
Yeah, I think that's all fantastic advice. I don't disagree with any of that. But yeah, I think I definitely feel like what I love about this season, and it doesn't always happen, is it's it feels fake sometimes when you say people that get voted out early, like you made an impact, because often in other seasons they don't. They get voted out first, they don't win a battle back, and they're in the screen for maybe 30 minutes. But you made such a big impact. Maddie made such a big impact. I thought everyone, even Jay, like even his pre-cast saying, like there was so many iconic moments from you guys that like I'd love to see you play again. It'd be awesome. I'm dying. I'm begging for it. Would you play again? And what would you do differently? Is that on the cards potentially?
Well, it's not on the cards. Like I haven't been approached another time to do a recording one. I think I got approached to do like a virtual one at one stage, but it was while I was traveling. So that was kind of a chance to say no before I even had a chance to think about it. I definitely look. I probably would do it again. Like I'm not an outdoors person. I'm not a camper, and if in a lot of ways, many people were surprised I said yes to going on it in the first place. But yeah, I'd definitely do it again. It's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of people that you wouldn't meet in any other circumstance, and they're all great people. Like you said, the community that has surrounded Survivor Canberra is, one of the best that I've seen across the board. Like obviously I don't know many other communities to do with Survivor, but just, in life, it's a great community. And, if that's the only thing that I took away from it, like that is worth its weight in gold.
Just a quick thing. Survivor Canberra says, "Let's talk, Amy." Let's pull her up, guys. She's already got all these offers. You gotta jump in quick. Gotta jump in quick. But yes, Amy, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. It's honestly been a pleasure. It's awesome to meet you. I've loved talking about you. I've loved being riding on the wave of the Amy train, and the fact that the Swamp of Sadness has completely turned into a whole different thing because of you should just show as a person you are and the impact you made on the game. We really appreciate you coming on tonight, and we can't wait to see you potentially play in the future.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's been great, and I've loved kind of having this second life of Survivor, of watching the show, but also like watching the podcast as well. Like it's an unusual thing for me to actually seek out people commenting about me, considering like journalists are told not to read the comments. So, but it's been great. It's kind of this whole other vein of it that I didn't expect and have really loved.
We love you.
It's been a pleasure.
Patty.
Thanks so much, Amy. We'll see you very soon.
Bye.
Thank you, Amy.
Well,
I love her.
She's the best. I feel like I'm the biggest ass kisser, but I just like everyone in this cast. They're all awesome. It feels disingenuous, but I'm like, I like these people a lot. They're all very nice. I've loved speaking to all of them. And let's just keep it going. Whilst we're here, someone else also was eliminated in the Battle Back Challenge. So we're going to whack them straight in. And to be honest, I'm a little bit nervous. because we've got a podcaster, a professional podcaster. Like she's got that experience. I've checked out her podcast. It's very good. And we're going to add Squin in. Hi, Squin. Lovely to meet you. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thanks for having me. So I'm certainly not a professional podcaster, but it seems to be enough of a reason to have me potentially voted out of Survivor Canberra. But I'm walking the fine line between the two. But it's nice to be a guest for a change, especially with you three on the panel. So very excited to be here.
Yeah, well, I'm going to put this comment straight up. Squin is here to take all your podcasting jobs. Rightfully so. I remember when you mentioned that you did the podcast on your precast interview. I checked it out and I was like, wow, like this is really cool. And like obviously you do some commentating for the women's basketball. I was like, wow, that's really sick as well. So talk to me about how you got on to Canberra Survivor, how that opportunity arose, and talk about the casting process, because obviously we're doing casting right now. If anyone's just watching, please apply. But talk to us about that process and how you managed to get onto the show.
Yeah, so it was through a connection through basketball, actually. So Sophie, who played in season 2 of Canberra Survivor, once upon a time, I actually lived in Canberra, and half the reason why I moved there was to continue to pursue my basketball career, and that's how I met Sophie. So she was one of my close friends while I lived there, and we obviously stayed in touch ever since. And yeah, she just reached out and said, hey, this thing called Survivor Canberra is casting. I think you'd be really, really good. Like, would you consider auditioning? And so we had a bit of a chat, And look, I had nothing else going on. And so then I put in my application, and then I was interviewed over Skype, which I thought was interesting because Skype seems to be a dying breed of platform. But here we are using Skype. It worked. It did its job. So then I had a good chat over Skype, and one of the last questions for the interview process was something like if you had a bowl of spaghetti or something you could tip on someone, who would it be and why, or something like that. It was some kind of like, who would you softly attack and why, which always stuck out in my head. So Skype. So that was the interviewing process, and then off we go to get cast into Survivor. And similar to Maddie, I was a pretty passive Survivor fan. I probably hammed it up a lot more in the audition, but you've got to do what you got to do to get a gig, right? So I did watch Survivor, but I wasn't as into it as a lot of other people in the cast were. So I was a bit like Maddie, going in for a little bit of fun, playing the social game. Probably didn't know as much about strategy or have such a strong focus on strategy as I should have. But it was a very unique experience, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to have you on. I'm going to pass it to Miguel and Jordo. Any questions straight off the bat, guys?
I really want to know the answer. Like, what was your answer? Who would you throw spaghetti to? Like, now I'm intrigued.
Scott Morrison. So
that's a great answer. I love that answer.
So remembering the time of the auditions and when we filmed season 3 was yesteryear. So it was a very, I think, appropriate context of an answer, very 100%. Contextual answer, and probably maybe still even a relevant answer now. But it was Scott Morrison.
I love that. Jordo?
I want to know, like, who were you pissed off at the most for voting you out? Because clearly, people, and you were very annoyed when you were voted, and you didn't get enough airtime as far as I'm concerned. So who were you pissed off? And I'll be pissed off at them too.
Oh, thank you. Well, I was genuinely really, really annoyed because me as a person, I think it came across during my time on Survivor. I'm a pretty loyal person. I try to be a pretty honest person. And when you had people lying literally to your face with no inclination of anything else, and it was really validating when I was watching back on the podcast and watching back on the episode to see that I was trying to make some kind of connection going into that tribal council and trying to fish for some information. Part of me wishes that I pushed even harder or tried to make some more, take some risks and make some more moves and try and manipulate people to do something else. I wish I did that more, but I wasn't getting a lot back. I tried really hard to try and get some information. I wasn't getting anything back. I was kind of met with a wall. So when other viewers saw that, it was kind of validating, but it's hard to pinpoint one person. I mean, maybe watching it back, I was annoyed at the universe for letting Andrew win that challenge, because I feel like that if Andrew and Todd had not won that challenge, I think Andrew could have been in danger and we could have had some 100%. More conversations about who was voted out that round and not me. I think it's hard to say in that situation who I was annoyed with the most, because I think they were all in it together, so they all need to share the responsibility.
Yeah. Hang them all.
Yeah. They were all on the blacklist. And when we went into that Swamp of Sadness challenge with the wooden cubes, and I, like Amy was saying, that was the first time she had a full audience. So for me, in that moment, I had just been voted out. And as soon as I was voted out, I was led in the dark to a random spot in the bush. Very self-aware, maybe a little bit too self-aware. Random spot in the bush, just stay here for a sec with no instruction. So I was fuming that I was voted out, knowing I was going to get voted out and having people lie to my face and losing because I'm super competitive. And just to be told to stand in this dark in the bush. And I was like, what is going on? And then we just to turn around, and then John's there, and then we're being led back, and then there's a challenge, and they're all sitting there at a table, all smiling and staring at you, cheering you on. And I was like,
you did the first spaghetti, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. That was the spaghetti moment. That's why they asked that question in the interview. Oh, just smiling there and cheering for you. I think what was cut out actually from that thrill was that there are a lot of people cheering for us, like they were saying our names, which I think kind of had a really weird effect on me, where I was like, do they actually want me back in? Or are they just saying that to be nice because now I'm back in their face after they just voted
or
me
they're
off?
guilty or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love the I do love the merge group. They know they're probably safe for merge, and they're going like, "Oh, go you guys, get back here." I do love the almost a little bit of like lacking of self-awareness. So you voted them out. Why they wouldn't want to cheer from you?
Come on, guys. I'm just like, are you serious right now? So yeah, that was a bit of a head spin.
So speaking of challenges, you said something before that I wrote down, and it's funny that you say you hate losing, and this is proof of that. You said, talk to me about the eating challenge and what you were talking about before post that we started the podcast.
It's so funny because, again, being a pretty passive Survivor fan, I forgot about the possibility of an eating challenge, and I am really wussy with this stuff. Like, I have really sensitive stomach. I'm the one that always gets motion sickness. Like, a smell would put me off, where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be ill. So when we came to an eating challenge, I was freaking out. I also felt like I wanted to, I don't know if you noticed, but when the other people were competing, I was trying to stand at the back because more and more I was trying to like not participate. But then in the back of my mind, I thought, well, if I don't participate and we lose, that might give them reason to vote me out because I wasn't a team player. So what happened was I was in that kind of confliction of should I go, should I not go? And then I saw them add more food to the table. And so I saw them put down something where I looked like it looked relatively safe. And I was like, I reckon I could eat that. So then I volunteered and picked that one. And it was the herbal jelly. And I was like so happy that I got herbal jelly. And then Abs picked orange jelly. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've winged this eating challenge, the thing that I feared the most, to have 2 jellies. And so then I just scoffed it, and then I got beaten by a dry tortilla. So I tried to cheat, and then I ended up losing in the end, which was ludicrous.
Karma.
Yeah, it was karma. So I got, my 2 low points in this season was being 10 grams. My low points in this season was being beaten by a dry tortilla and 2 wooden blocks. It was so fun. It was so funny during some of our chats that didn't go to air, where people are listing their strengths, and people are like, I'm really good at catching and throwing. I'm really good at jigsaw puzzles. And me having a sporting background going into something like Survivor, I'm like, who cares if you're good at throwing and catching? But then I was the one that was defeated by 2 wooden blocks. Like, full circle moment.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that's interesting is obviously the challenge, the battle back. Were you going into the battle back feeling confident? Obviously, you have a sports background. You're against John, who's a bit of an older. Oh, I good to see it there in the chat. I love that. But yeah, did you go into the battle back thinking? You obviously had Amy, who she'd won a few challenges, but like, I don't think you naturally look at Amy and go, wow, like she could be like, she obviously against an Ed, for example, you'd be like, oh, wow, like this guy's going to be great at challenges. Whereas you were like, oh, I'm a sports star. I have a bit of a background in that. I feel like I could take on Amy, and you have John. Like, I feel like I could take on John. Were you feeling confident going into it?
I think I was still feeling annoyed. Like, my rage was overtaking a lot of things, and I had to really, really concentrate to block out the smiling faces of the merged tribe and just being voted out, all of those emotions at once. I had to try and block it out to concentrate on this wooden block, because it was actually a lot harder than it looked, especially in the context and in the dark. But I wasn't feeling any type of way of the challenge, other than at the time I had to just know I had to focus and try and get back in it. I didn't feel confident or anything. I was just still really annoyed.
And there would have been that adrenaline from being annoyed, so you would have been a little bit shaky and not. Yeah, you didn't need that. Have that time Amy would have had to be steady and knowing what was coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in hindsight, even after I did the challenge, and on the bus home the next day or the day after, you're replaying everything you play, like in the game, in your head. And like you guys said before, we were still preparing our the polls for the 2 cubes, and then we dropped it within like the preparation time. So it'd be interesting to see if we could go back and have that prep time again to make sure we're steady and then count down. But in my head, I just needed to take that extra second to kind of problem solve of like, okay, what do I need to do? How do I need to stand? How do I need to position my arms? And I think like if I put the emotion to the side and thought about it a bit more, I could have done better. But yeah, there you go. Defeated by wooden blocks.
I love it.
That's how.
It's it's tough, and that's what sucks about this game. It's very quick, it's very fast, and the benefit, Amy has to go through the negative of going first is that Amy has to do all those battle backs, but the positive thing is she has the time to kind of process her vote out, whereas you clearly have to just, hey, stand in this area, and then we're doing it in 10 minutes, and you're going to do it in front of all the people that you're just really pissed at. They're going to come and cheer you on whilst you do it. It's the tough thing of this game. And so obviously the game didn't go exactly how you wanted it to go. To go right before merge is probably a hard pill to swallow. What was it like watching it back? Because I feel like often players that I speak to that I'm friends with, they say like, oh, you kind of process it after the game and then you get over it and then you watch it again and all those emotions kind of come back up again. Was that something you experienced? And what was it like watching yourself on the screen?
I think I worried more about watching myself on screen than anything else. Like, obviously I knew the outcome, but I was genuinely worried that something I had said that would make the edit would like get me cancelled. Like actually though, like I had some, not wild, but when you mentioned, we're asking Maddie before if she was conscious about having cameras and what to say and stuff. Without sounding performative, part of me was just like, I have the flexibility or the opportunity to say some really cooked stuff, whether it's funny or insightful or whatever, because I know it's going to give good content and Dan's going to have something good to play with. So not that I was being disingenuous, but I just let my mask come off a little bit more. So that was fun. But watching it back was actually, so I was genuinely worried I was going to say something that would get cancelled because I did swear a lot. So shout out to Dan for cutting out my swears. I actually really enjoyed watching it back much more than I anticipated because I only saw part of the story that involved so many people. And then to see everyone else's perspectives and what was happening around me while I was there that I didn't even know was like fascinating. So there were conversations in my tribe going on in the first couple episodes where I was like, where was I for this? I had no idea. Like, for example, I think it was in the first, after we lost the first challenge and Eden's name got put out there. I remember playing the game where I was like, who put Eden's name out there? And someone told me it was Jay. Someone's like, oh, Jay put Eden's name out there to be voted off first, but we're going to vote off Jay. I'm like, okay. Turns out it was John that put Eden's name out there. And that just blew my mind where I was like, this stuff is happening around me and I had no idea. I really enjoyed watching it back, like seeing how many people played the game so differently, but their strategy was like outstanding. I feel like it was the part of my brain that I hadn't developed yet. And I've learned so much from watching people like Eden and Bethany and Loz in particular. And I didn't realize that Andrew was going to have even more outlandish metaphors than the ones that I got to experience firsthand. So watching it back it's actually been really, really enjoyable. And thankfully not a lot of bad feelings have come up like they did at the time it all happened.
That's great to hear. Any more questions from you guys? I know.
I
could ask for hours.
going back to that elimination, so it was between you and Aiden. We got to see a lot of Aiden's and Oscar's relationship and how they were getting closer. So that in the end, I think it played a big part, right? Like Oscar trying to protect Aiden. Did you have anyone on that try where you felt like this person is gonna protect me, so it's not gonna be me? Because maybe we didn't get to see much of that. Like how do you feel with it? Do you have that connection?
No, I didn't actually. So that's a really good point. I don't think I paid enough attention to realize that Oscar and Aiden had been developing that relationship, or maybe they were just doing it very well in secret. I remember in an earlier episode where I was starting to become sus on Bethany, and Derek actually commented that he was worried I was going to play with too much tunnel vision. And I think at this point where it was like my impending elimination, I definitely started to play with too much tunnel vision. I should have made more of an effort to get someone like Pauline or Sab on my side, or like Maddie said, when there was 4 females and 3 males, we could have played that to our advantage. I feel like there were lots of opportunities as well where I probably could have developed that relationship with particularly Pauline a lot more, but because I just had my tunnel vision on too much, I didn't allow myself to have that opportunity. But otherwise, no, I didn't. And that was probably part of my downfall too.
Yeah. What's your one favorite thing?
Say again?
What's your one favorite thing from being in Survivor?
Good question.
Eric.
I would say similar to what Maddie and Amy said, it's I really enjoy any context of life, like when you go traveling or you go to an event or something, everything is so almost serendipitous, where it's the right group of people at the right time. And even if we were to do this all again with the same people in the same crew in the same place, it would not be replicated. It could not be exactly the same. Like, it's such a purely unique experience. And I don't think I could compare it to anything else. So I think this, the experience as a whole, and knowing that it is truly a once in a lifetime thing, is probably my favorite thing. But in the game in particular, it just was such a good exercise in having so much like mental and cognitive flexibility. Because like Marcus was saying before, it is really quick. I was not expecting it to be that quick, where we're like, hey, introductions, challenge, go away, find your camp, and you're going to come back in 15 minutes and you're going to cut someone who just got here. And I was like, holy crap, this is real. It's like on The Office when Michael gets a vasectomy and he goes snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. That's what it's like. It's like just like that.
Love it. Best answer.
But yeah, it's a pleasure having you on. I feel like I could talk to you for hours about your game. Just to wrap it up, I know I'm whacking on about the casting. The casting are out, and we're really trying to push it. What would you say to someone that's on the fence? They're like, oh, like I'm not super into Survivor. Like I don't know. Like I'm not massively into sleeping in the woods. Like, what would you say to someone that's not super committed to it, but is interested in potentially applying?
Well, get voted out before the merge, because then you don't have to sleep over, I guess. Just make it as far as pre-merge so you can play the game as long as possible without having to sleep on the ground. But I would say, even if there's just the smallest part of you that is interested, just apply anyway. Because if you get an interview, just like a job interview, it's your opportunity to interview them and find out a bit more, because otherwise you're closing yourself off to an opportunity that could be, like I said, a once in a lifetime kind of thing. But don't see it so much as like it has to be like Survivor, the TV series. You can still make it your own. If you just want to go for a weekend out in the bush and meet some people and play a game, that's ultimately all it is. And if you just want to do that and you're social, then just put your hat in the ring, I'd say. Put your bucket hat in the ring, I say.
Hey!
Yes! Shout out Pauline, shout out Oscar.
Yeah.
Bucket hat gang, she's there.
But yes,
wear a bucket hat. That's my advice.
It was an absolute pleasure having you on, Squin. Check out all of her stuff. There's plenty of stuff she's doing. It's very good stuff. I've checked it out myself. Hopefully, we'd love to have you back in some scenario or on another Survivor-based thing or something in the future. I hope you had a great time on the show, and it's a pleasure having you on for this episode.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you. It was lots of fun, and really appreciate you guys doing a podcast for this TV series. I'm going to say TV series, web series that I know people like Dan put so much time into. And it's been really fun watching you all analyze the episodes, because I've learned a lot as well. So if I ever get the opportunity to play again, the game's going to be played very differently.
Well, the hope is potentially you're one of us at a future season. You can take over one of our roles and give your own opinions, which we'd love to have you on.
For sure. Sign me up for season 4. I will come and do a guest spot. I'd love to.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. And we'll speak to you very soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, heaps.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I'm saying it. I'm saying the same. I feel like I'm a robot saying the same thing. That was awesome.
They're
I
cool
that. That
people,
really
right? I know.
Turns out Dan's very good at casting. Who would have thought? What a coincidence. But anyway, we have a lot to talk about. We're an hour in, so I'm going to kind of talk through a few things here.
We've still got so much to do. Like, get a cup of tea ready,
so
guys.
Let's get the turbo on, and let's go. So the first thing I want to talk about is particularly two particular strategies heading into this merge. What did we think of John's unique social game? So for me, it was a few things. He grabbing the idol as soon as he arrived. Getting very overly involved in conversations. I think there was like two different things where he walked into conversations. They're like, "Oh, is it not if we just chat?" And then being very open about his plan to vote Eden, incredibly open to the point where he's just like, didn't he know that Eden had the advantage? So I thought that was very interesting.
Didn't he mention? Yeah, he mentioned it, but then he totally forgot about it. He was so frantic and erratic. I was just like, even when the first scene cut back when he first came back, he was talking about all this stuff and everyone's eyes were just rolling. And I was like, what the hell? I literally wrote down, what is he on about? I have no idea what this conversation's about right now. He was just blurting out things. And even those guys you could just tell they were like, what is he talking about?
Yeah. I think they're like two total opposites, like overplaying way too much and then not playing at all. Like he's definitely overplaying, but that's giving us the content we need as viewers, right? I mean, yes, it took him like half an hour to get that idol off the flag. It was not the wrong decision. Like I would have done the same. Like he already seen that's an idol, so go for it. But don't take like in front of everyone half an hour to get it for yourself. I mean, you have to be faster than that, right?
He wasn't hiding
he's playing. He's playing the game.
Yeah.
He surprised me, and look, I'm not saying this was his goal, but part of me thinks it is kind of smart in a way of if you want to last longer. Because personally, if I'm post this vote, I am 100% trying to keep John around because I know he will cause issues with other people, and I can just bring this guy as far as I possibly can, and he will be the distraction whilst I just slip under the radar. Do we see John lasting much longer? Do we think he's kind of doomed at this point? Where do we see John's future?
I don't know.
It's difficult to tell. I feel like people are not trusting him because of all of this, right? So it will affect his game. Like I see people thinking, "Oh, I might keep him for longer," but that whole chaos could go and bite you in the ass. So maybe you don't want that, right? Like maybe you don't want that kind of chaos around you because you don't know. It's so like volatile. Like it could go and bite you, right?
And they also all like most of them wanted him out again. Like it was so close between him and Hayden again. Like he'd already been there once. I don't think he's going to last much longer because I think they've already had enough of him since he's been back. Like,
yeah. So clearly a crazy strategy. I respected it. To be honest, I love it because a guy that looks like John, you wouldn't expect him to play the way he's playing, which I love. I love when someone exceeds expectations. And I think John's done fantastic with the way he's played, and I think he's gotten tons of screen time because of it. And to be honest, the more John, the better. I want more John. I want more John on my screen. I think it's awesome. I think he's in a bit of trouble, but if he can get his way out of it, it's a pretty good story.
It's good to have a rivalry, right? Like John versus Eden and that, because not only is giving them some screen time, but if you're playing with them, you want them around because you know they're going to be fighting each other for a while. So the longer you can keep both of them, they're going to take all the attention. So you can just like squeeze in to the end game, right?
Yeah. It was funny because when we were doing the cast, they're talking about it, and I was saying he won't let people pull the wool over his eyes, and he's been doing that to everyone. It's hilarious. Like he's literally been exactly what I thought others. Yeah.
110% agree. I remember I thought about that recently. I was like, wow, that's actually he's literally doing what you said. It's genius. Speaking of another crazy strategy though, we're trying to move on here. Andrew. I'm not surprised at all by Andrew, by the way. We've had so much of it that it almost with John we're surprised, where with Andrew I'm just not surprised at all. But something I thought was funny is we were in a chat for organizing this podcast with Dan, and even Dan was saying he's not even sure if Andrew was super sure what he meant by the dodo strategy. So I got the gist of it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I got the gist that he was saying, I'm going to give someone a task or a target or something to distract them so they're not focusing on me. I'm going to give everyone else something to do, whether it's, we got to worry about these people, or we got to worry about this person, or we got to worry about this. And the whole time he's doing that, letting them focus on that whilst he stays clear. Is that the kind of gist of what I got?
It does sound right, but what has that got to do with Dodo? Like, there's no like connection to that.
Yeah, what I thought was like, I'm gonna give you the dodo egg, which is something it doesn't exist because they're extinct, right? So I'll give you the trust and I'll give you the information you need, but in the end, it's not gonna give you anything because it's a dodo egg, right? It doesn't exist. So I'm gonna give you that piece for now, but in the end, I'm gonna betray you. I have to. So I think,
yeah, or it could even be stuff like, say, for example, he got like if we were playing, I could go, "Hey, Miguel, Jordo's going for you," and that would fester in your head when in reality Jordo was never going for you. Maybe that's the thing as well is false things, basically just giving something that's not true and hoping that it completely ruins their game and makes them unpack from the inside. Look at this. I think you cracked the code, Miguel. Love that from Canberra.
All right.
But yes, Jordo.
Sorry, I was saying I did read a thing where dodos actually only lay one egg at a time, right? So maybe that's what he meant by that, because they each give them one egg, but it's always a different egg, so it's never going to be the same thing. Whereas you've got a whole bunch.
I wonder how much research he had about dodos before going into the season, so he can.
I think Andrew is just a wealth of knowledge of random metaphors. I'm not sure if you've seen him on Backyard, but he's exactly the same. And in person he is just the same. He's just 100% himself, and it's just probably him at a 10 is probably how he plays, and I love it personally.
It was just in everyone's ear, wasn't it? And I'm just surprised that his name was never brought up for that vote. Like, I
think it was like, I think there were people that wanted to get rid of him. I think it was more just a case of I think early with Merge. I think with Merge, sometimes you just want to just get through the first vote. And I felt like obviously John was doing so much and Aiden was kind of close with John that it kind of just made a clear 2. And it led to a quick split. Let's get into the vote, obviously. So the first thing I want to discuss is my girl Pauline. I think she made her first proper error. And she cost her Aiden Alliance, sticking with the majority. If she flipped her vote, John goes, Aiden's on the bottom and tight with her, and she can say, "Hey, I flipped my vote to save you." And I know maybe she may not know. There's a lot of information that we don't get to see, but I definitely felt that that cost her a very good ally that I could definitely have seen beneficial to her game. What do we think about this? Firstly, the split on John and Aiden. Eden's exit, just in general, the whole crazy tribal and how it all went.
Yeah, I like how confrontational Eden was in that tribal council, asking John to speak up now. Like, this is a moment. This is tribal council. Let's make it live, because he knew he was gonna be safe. So no matter what he was saying, he was in his own grave, right? So he pushed for that conversation to start because he knew he was playing it for sure. But in the end, it's gonna save you for now. But now you have a huge target on your back, because not only you're starting the conversations, there's gonna be another tribal after this, like in 20 minutes after that, right?
Yeah, pretty much. You got to go, and that's 100% agree with what you say. I definitely believe if you know you're safe, blow up a tribal, go nuts, make a move, because why not, right? Like he's already at the bottom. He's potentially the next boot if he does nothing happens. Why not just go for it? And I think I've really respected Eden's thing. I also really respect John's transparency. I feel like John is playing an erratic game, but he is still sticking to his values of being honest and being transparent when he is going for you, and kind of being like, oh, well, I've already gone for Eden, so I've already flipped, so I'm not going to not flip back because that's disingenuous. Like, I don't want to work with Eden, so I'm going to be clear about it. And I think maybe he was a bit blinded by the fact that I can't believe maybe he didn't, maybe he forgot about the advantage, but it just blew my mind when he was being so honest about it. I was just like, he's just going to go. He's just making it clear that he's going to go. But yeah, I was disappointed when Aiden went. I was a bit bummed because I thought there was going to be John, and I thought Aiden would definitely be the backup plan. But I was surprised when he was the actual plan. And I don't know, maybe they thought maybe just as a risk that the John idol. I personally never believed it was an idol. I don't know what you guys thought.
But they even mentioned that. They even said surely it's not, because it's not painted. They wouldn't do it in again when we already know about it. And they were right. So they should have just because that's their opportunity to have got John out again. But they didn't take it. They went with Aiden, which I thought was a silly choice because it was an easy choice. It's like, why would you get rid of him right now? And there's other people you could be getting rid of who could be,
Yeah, but it's the first merge tribal, right? So I guess people want to play safe because you don't really know what's going on until the boats are red. So if it's the first merge tribal, I think it's best to always go safe. I know there's a lot of big players, there could be a lot of potential for big moves, but you don't really know if they're lying to you or not, right? So until the line is drawn, then you can actually move around. So I feel like, yes, I agree. Like Pauline's been playing a great game. Like I'm so rooting for her. But I don't
Yes,
think it
yes,
was a
Miguel.
mistake. I think it was good for her to keep like herself under the radar and go with the majority and make it seem like she's not a threat now. Because I honestly think she's the one. She's the one who's gonna take it all.
I'm also going to just quickly put this up. So John was the plan, not Aiden. John only survived by voting Aiden out fourth. So it was, obviously Aiden voted Bethany. I thought that was an interesting choice. I'm keen to chat with him about it in the future. We also got, I think this is John. It says YouTube user, but I'm assuming this is John. I wasn't going to vote Aiden. I had a heads up to vote Aiden to save myself. So, okay, that's cool. I think that's very good. Oh, John, I love John. Keep giving us insight because I'm respecting your game more and more the more I hear about it. But yes, I definitely think there's a lot of things and a lot of regrets. Obviously, Pauline said she's still sad she didn't flip her vote, but I couldn't have picked Aiden's vote for Bethany. It's so hectic merge. I know how crazy it is. I know a few of us have experienced how nuts merge can be, and it's just a million talks, and you don't believe anyone because you don't believe anything that anyone's saying because everyone's trying to play hard and go crazy. And but yeah, I definitely thought it was a good episode. I'm just glad it wasn't so unanimous. I do like a split at merge. It makes things more interesting. Speaking of the person that was booted out, let's get him on. Aiden, welcome to the Backbenchers podcast.
Hey,
How you all doing? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, man. So first off, we're talking a lot about casting. I feel like I've mentioned this a bunch, but casting is open for season 5. Talk to me about your process of how you found out about Survivor Canberra, the application process, and the whole experience, and how you got onto the show.
No bowls of spaghetti, no questions like that from me. Unfortunately, I sort of applied pretty early on after casting opened up. So by the time I applied, they hadn't even announced the theme. And they hadn't even said in the application you would have to do a video interview. So I didn't even do that part of the process.
Wow.
And so how I heard about Canberra, I think I saw a Reddit post about Melbourne Survivor at one point. And
yes,
I asked the question for what the hell is this, Melbourne Survivor? And then I asked the person who posted it, they told me a bit about it, and I looked it up, and I watched Warrandyte. And then,
love it.
Yeah, watched Warrandyte. Yep, it was a good season. And then I sort of heard about all the other ones, Canberra, Backyard. Watched a few of those, and then I think right after I finished watching one of them, the applications came out for Canberra. And so yeah, I put my hat in the ring, and I was an alternate actually, so I wasn't in straight away.
Oh, we love that.
Yep. So I wasn't in straight away, but I did get a few weeks' notice before the game, before I got called up to the game, and so. There wasn't really much more to it because, like I said, I didn't do the video interview. The questions were pretty stock standard at the time when I filled out the form. So, there wasn't really much to it for me in terms of getting on the show.
Yeah, of course. That's a unique way to get on the show. But hey, that's what I love. I love when alternates come on and make an impact. Obviously, I feel like I could honestly say that I feel like maybe the game didn't go exactly how you wanted it to go. I feel like you maybe would have wanted to have a bit more agency, and the first vote wasn't. Let's talk about the first vote. Obviously, you go to a tie, which is unheard of in these LRGs to go a tie that early. What was that feeling like? Was your heart beating out of your chest? And then what was the experience coming back and having to, I think you did very well at handling the emotions of that. Someone could easily unravel. So what was that whole process like?
Well, it's not quite unheard of actually, because Warrandyte, like I was saying, was the first one I watched, and I had a tie vote there, of course. And so, who knows? I was watching that, and to think that a year or so later on, it was going to be me in the same situation. Who could have guessed? How were the emotions? Before Tribal, I was really calm and strangely calm because I'm a pretty anxious person normally. So when I was sort of standing around with everyone, we're waiting to get sent into Tribal, I was wondering what's going on. Why do I feel as calm as I've ever felt in my life? And the reason was because I had no sleep the night before, and I was actually about to crash and pass out from exhaustion. I almost fell asleep during Tribal, genuinely, because I was so tired. but then once my name started coming out of the air, and then I did start to feel a bit more awake and what do you call it, energized, I guess, and anxious about everything. But yeah, it was a bit of a roller coaster, that first vote. Like you said, I was a bit caught off guard because I didn't really expect. Like, I wasn't shocked to see my name. When the first vote came out, I sort of thought that makes sense because of the challenge and everything. I thought, yeah, it probably makes more sense that I was going to get a vote as opposed to Eden. But I wasn't too worried about that first vote for me. It was when the first vote for Jay came out that I actually started to panic because that was my vote. And I thought, holy shit, I'm going to go out 7-1. Because then why would they have shown my vote first? And so then I started to hit the panic button, and then I'm just racking numbers through my head going, shit, I'm pretty sure I got John, I'm pretty sure I got Squin, but I don't know about anyone else now. And so by the time the fourth vote came up for me, I'm not sure how it was aired on the show because they did it in a different order. But in real time, it was 4-3 me, and then the last vote was for Jay. And at that point, I thought I was gone. So I sort of just accepted and was ready to pick up my bag and torch and get snuffed. But luckily the vote tied, and then obviously everything that happened after that with the revote, I got pretty lucky there again. And then with John and Squin being the ones asked first about who to keep, that whole tribe discussion thing, that really worked out in my favor. So I was pretty lucky on the whole. It probably should have been me who went out first. So yeah, just I guess very lucky I was still there.
Yeah, totally. Miguel or Jordo, any questions starting off for Aiden?
Yeah, it seemed like you were not able to catch a break during those tribal councils, right? Like every single tribal council, it was your name, like every single time. Like we saw you really going through it in this past episode. So do you think there was a specific reason? Do you think it was because you were targeted on the first one, that then you got an easy vote? Or do you think there was something else that was like pushing it to you?
Yeah, I think I just did do a good job at the start of the game. So I think I came in probably with a bit of probably too much of a negative mindset, to be honest. And I think there were times in that first round in particular where I could have taken chances to really build some momentum. One big thing that comes to mind is that I sort of got on with John well early on. And I remember him at one point saying to me, the two of us, we're going to be good. We should try and find one extra person to bring into an alliance. And we would have 4, and then we could go from there. And maybe that first vote would have gone different. So John brought in Squin, which was good. And then I, as a great alliance member, brought in absolutely no one. Because I was still just overthinking things a bit and thought, is it too early to play the game? Do I want to be bringing people into an alliance and sort of making it obvious to people that John and I are close already? So I sort of overthought things. But, in hindsight, one of the things I definitely wish I did was to bring in Jay, because Jay was actually the first person that I spoke to out of everyone in the group. And I thought we got on well. And the thought also went through my head, even from our first conversation, should I just ask him for an alliance? And I didn't take it. I didn't listen to myself, and I sort of wish I did, because maybe things would have gone different for us both in that case. But I think sort of a lot of the problems I had throughout the game sort of snowballed from that first vote. I sort of just was right behind the 8 ball, and I couldn't really get my momentum back, unfortunately. I think the swap, I don't know what you would all think. For me, I think it was the best thing that could have happened, to be honest, in my game. Not just
100%.
because,
100%.
Not just because I was definitely going to be voted out next if the original tribe had lost again. But I think it also forced me to actually trust my instincts a bit more, because in that first round, I was very hesitant, very uncertain about what I was doing, very lost. But the sort of going from the swap to the challenge, and then we lose the challenge and we're straight into tribal council talk, I really had to just back myself and trust my instincts which was basically to say, yeah, I need to try and flip to the other side. And I was sort of able to do that. So that really was the best thing that could have happened. And probably without that swap, if I end up on the other swap tribe, good chance I don't make the merge at all. I guess back to your original question, which is why did my name keep coming up? Probably a combination of just the bad start I got off to, maybe also the numbers. Canberra was always very strong after the swap. And I think it was just easier for them at the time to just stick together, as we probably would have done ourselves if we had the numbers, back on the original Currawong tribe.
I was disappointed, but I just felt like you maybe were too trusting of people, like especially that last episode. I'm just like, why is he trusting all these people? Like, obviously I've been watching it, we see them talk about you, but I'm like, why is he trusting these people? He's too trusting. And so I was like yelling at the TV, like, no, don't trust everyone. Do you reckon that could have been part of your downfall as well, because you were trusting everyone?
Definitely. I was definitely very naive at points, especially at the merge round. I think I sort of went in. It was pretty clear to me that people wanted John out. That was what everyone was saying. But obviously he had the idol. And so basically I was under the impression for most of that vote that people wanted John out. I was hearing Eden's name. I wasn't actually hearing mine, and I think I just got deluded into thinking I was going to be okay, even though John and I were clearly close, and we didn't do a good job of hiding that. So yeah, definitely I was a bit naive and a bit too trusting of people. Yeah, probably a mistake even in the first round, because like I said, I was probably a bit too caught off guard and a bit too comfortable with the fact that I didn't think I was getting votes, mainly because after that first challenge and I sort of came back into camp, I got pulled for a confessional straight away. And my worry was that when I was going to come back was that everyone was going to be, saying nothing to me. They're not going to be telling me names. They're not going to be really talking with me because of the challenge. And so once people did start talking to me and saying names, I sort of let my guard down a little bit. And I think the same mistake sort of happened at the merge when I was hearing, John's name and Eden's name.
Yeah, because that first episode, I was a bit sad because you're like, they didn't want me out because I didn't do well in the challenge. I'm like, no, they're just trying to pull names. Don't be sad. I just want to hug you.
Yeah, it's kind of a backhanded compliment, really, because everyone's saying, oh, it wasn't about the challenge. Don't worry about the challenge. We're not voting you out because of that. And I'm thinking, well, that's great, but you must be voting you out for something else. There's two things. Yeah. But anyway,
something that I felt that I really was surprising is obviously, like we talked about it a bit. I'm not sure if you're listening, but we talked about Pauline voting for you and that ultimately costing an alliance. What was your relationship with Pauline, and particularly Pauline and Oscar? I feel like there was definitely they definitely saw you as a potential number they could bring in and work with. Pauline constantly mentioned that she enjoyed the way you thought and felt that you had similar ways of how you wanted to play the game. And Oscar definitely saw you as someone he could pull in to get, say, an Andrew out. What was it like working with them in particular?
Well, the first thing I'll say is I think you're a bit harsh on Pauline, making a mistake, because it was my fault I got voted out. So, but I'm sure we'll talk about that later. To the relationship with Pauline and Oscar, there were just two people I got on with well straight away. Probably Pauline more so from like a social point of view, but Oscar as well, putting that faith in me by telling me that Maddie was going to be the vote at our first swap tribal. I think that really solidified a strong strategic connection with him. But there were just two people I got on with really well. And I got on well with Andrew and Sab as well, to be honest. It's not like it was those two way ahead of the pack, but those were definitely the two I trusted the most. I think Squin might have said it as well. If Andrew didn't win that immunity challenge, I was hopeful that we were all going to vote for him, because Oscar and I never actually spoke about voting for Andrew, but I had the same idea. I was saying in confessionals that I thought Andrew might be the most likely target of that Unandera 4 to protect myself and Squin. So, Oscar was saying that we both sort of had the same ideas and same thoughts. He was definitely right, because we were on the same page for that one. But yeah, just really like Pauline and Oscar a lot. Just people I found, I probably just had an easier time of connecting with them than I did with the people on my starting tribe, which, nothing against them. That's just how it happened. I was probably also a bit more relaxed by that point of the game, having got, or at least through the first couple of votes, whereas probably early on, I was probably a bit too anxious and a bit putting too much pressure on myself to talk to people and make connections, and maybe it didn't work out because of that. Whereas, by the time of the swap, I was a bit more relaxed and settled into the game.
Yeah, you definitely came out of your shell from the very first episode, because I remember saying when I was watching the Meet the Cast, I was like, oh, he's a bit like boring, I think I said. But, after that first episode, I'm like, he's come out, he's great. And you really grew on me, and I really loved watching you. So, yeah, you definitely you should be proud of that. So you did an awesome job.
So real quick, you called me out just then about maybe the Pauline. It wasn't fully Pauline. So let's talk about this. I was literally on the train on Saturday late at night. I was coming home from an event and I was watching the vote, and I put my headphones in, and my friend was like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm watching the vote of this last episode," and I gave it to her. And as I was watching it, I was like, "Oh wow, Aiden's the backup." I was like, "Wow, that makes sense," but it's going to be John. And then when Bethany's name came out, I was so confused. So explain to me how that happened and the thought process behind all that.
Yeah, well, I think by the time the final votes were read, I was the only one who knew I was going home, because I knew what I'd done. I realised I'd messed up, and I sort of realised it before anyone else did, I think. But basically what happened is I just fucked up. I remember saying in the confessional, I said I was a fucking idiot about 10 different times, and Dan's cut all of them out, which is probably a good thing, but that's all I could think about, how stupid I was for doing what I did. So to basically give you the cliff notes of what happened was, obviously John found the idol, or the fake idol. People were talking about whether it was real or not, and people were saying to me, there's no color on the back, so it's probably not real. And I thought that makes sense, but I didn't also think that it was necessarily disqualifying, just because the colors could have just been to differentiate the aisles in the pre-merge. I didn't think that the fact there was no color was 100% a guarantee that the idol wasn't real at the merge. When I was having conversations with people, it was clear that they wanted John out, but I obviously didn't want that since he was pretty much my closest ally. So I was trying to shift the votes off him in any way I could. And the way I was doing that was pretty much to say to people, well, John's got the idol. He's going to play it for sure. A vote for him is wasted. I was trying to just get people to deflect their votes from him in any way I could. But as I was telling that story, actually, I forgot that the idol might not have been real at all. So by the time I've gone to the tribal council, I was convinced the idol was real, because I'd just been pushing that narrative so hard I forgot the other possibility. And then I had heard briefly about Eden's advantage, that he had it. And so I sort of knew in that situation. Oh, sorry, the other thing I should say first is that I got pulled for a confessional very late. And I'd never heard my name. But by the time I got out of the confessional, everyone had left camp and there hadn't been a plan. Like a very clear plan to me. So then I started to think, okay, I might be in a bit of trouble here. So I hightailed it back up to tribal where everyone was. They're like 100 meters away. So I had to sprint to catch up and talk to people. And then sort of at that point, I was talking to people that were still saying John and Eden is going to be the split. And then eventually John walked down the line right before we were meant to head in for tribal. And he told me, your name's out there. And then I sort of realized what was going on. So going in, my plan was to vote for Eden, still just because I was hoping I was going to stick with John at least. And then because I believed John's idol was real and I was a split vote, I couldn't, in my mind, put my vote on John because it was just going to get nullified. I had to vote somewhere else. And so when Eden ended up leaving, I thought about it. I knew that the Canberra players weren't going to vote for each other. So I thought, well, I can't vote for John because of his idol. Can't vote for myself. Eden's gone. The only other option is Bethany. And I'm just going to hope for a 1 in a million chance that someone like Pauline or Oscar flips their vote off me. And the only other person I could see them flipping their vote onto was Bethany. And hopefully that saves me somehow if enough people vote for Bethany. And I didn't think it was going to work. I even said in my confessional, I thought I was gone, but I thought I was gone because of I thought the idol was real, not because of the way the votes were going to break down. So I pretty much just screwed up. And I guess, I don't know if you'd say I overthought things or underthought things. I definitely didn't think about them the way I should have, put it that way.
Yeah, it's a lot. And it's super quick. And as I said, you're rushing to tribal and you believe your lie so much that you're spreading that you're like, oh, maybe it's true. Have I convinced myself here? And so I feel like your game is super interesting because it's a game that like so much happened and so much things happened, particularly to you, that like watching it back could be an interesting experience. You know, what was it like watching it back? Like, what was it like watching that merge, knowing that you're about to make this mistake? What was it like watching all that unfold?
Yeah. First episode was the one I was most concerned about, to be honest. If I'm honest, I wasn't feeling very good about watching the season just because I didn't know how it was all going to come out.
Of course.
But I sort of thought, I've got to watch the first one and see how it goes. It might not be, as bad as I think, and then I'll go from there if it's all right. And, it's a great show, Dan does a great job with it. So I enjoyed watching the first one. I guess all those worries were sort of in my head more than in reality. And so then I just kept on watching it. And I had an easier time watching it than I thought I was. In terms of the merge episode where I obviously make that mistake, the actual mistake I made has never really bothered me that much, just because, reflecting on the experience and the way I played, I think most of the mistakes I made, most of the things that led up to my eventual downfall happened, back in that first episode, just with the mindset I came into the game with and the way I approached the game and, my failures to sort of communicate with people. So I sort of view me being voted out the way I did is more of the symptom, not the disease, if that makes sense. And so it's never really been something I've been especially bothered by compared to some of the other mistakes I made, right back at the start of the game.
Yeah, but even though those mistakes happened, you still lasted as long as you did. So, like, you still did something right through all that. So, you rectified things on the way.
Yeah, you're right. So when you sort of just got to make the best of the situation, and that's what I tried to do after that first round. I tried to come back into camp and just sort of say to people, look, I understand why you did it. Let's let bygones be bygones and just, move forward. And I tried to reestablish myself as best I could, and I probably did an okay job of that. Definitely things I could have done better, but I made it to the merge, so that's something to be happy with. Yeah,
and to be proud of.
Yeah.
2 questions real quick. So firstly, quick one from Squin. Aiden, would you play again?
Yeah, if someone wanted me back, sure, I'd play again.
I'd love to play again, man. I feel I definitely believe that you have a lot of unfinished business, you have a lot of untapped potential, and what was even I thought was even more of a sign that you should play again is that I felt like, as I said, you went in nervous, and then you almost got a second chance through that first vote, and you kind of showed what you could actually do, but you just never were given the opportunity because of the start. So it was kind of like you were stuck in a rock and a hard place. So if you weren't ready to start, you weren't ready to play from the get-go. But then so when you started playing, it was almost like you were catching up on everyone else. So I definitely think with a new season and new people, I think you could definitely make a good impact. But yeah, I'd love to have you back. I think it'd be awesome to see you play.
Well, thanks.
And
No,
another question.
I mean, the way I see it,
oh, you go. Keep going.
I was just going to say, the way I see it, I've sort of already had my second chance. If I'm one and done, like I can't complain. I had a really great experience. Just getting to go through, meet all the people, compete in the immunity challenges, all that sort of stuff. I really got to experience so much of the game. So if that's it, then I'm really happy with what I got to experience. I'm more grateful, I guess, for what I got than what I missed, than disappointed by what I missed out on. If that makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. A really good question here from James Wolf. Aiden, do you think John coming back into the game worsened your position in the merge tribe, with you two being super close, which kept your name in people's minds? Do you feel like I personally kind of agree with James, because I feel like you had a lot of relationships with Oscar and Pauline, and I feel like you could have gone in with that group, but bringing him back in, like, what were your thoughts on that? And were you happy when John came back in?
I was thrilled when John came back in because, when Squin went, I wanted her to come back in. But then when I saw John, I wanted John to come back in, not because I liked him more than Squin, but just because I thought John would come to our side. And if I could keep the swap tribe together and bring John in, we have a majority. So I thought that would be a perfect situation. But then John comes in, he starts grabbing the idol, he starts, doing all the things John does. It probably did make life a bit harder for me. But at the same time, I think, I'm glad John did stay, because I think the game rewards people who play aggressively, and I think that's how it should be. And John definitely played hard, and he played a lot more. He was on the attack a lot more than I was, and I think he got rewarded for that. And that's probably how the game should go. But I do think, say Squin, or if Squin or Amy came in, I probably wouldn't have been tarred so much by association. At the same time, people were already talking about me as an easy vote coming into the merge just because of the way the numbers were. So it might not have made a difference. I might have been voted out unanimously, for all I know.
Yeah, it's a lot of ifs or buts. Miguel or Jordo, any questions that come into the mind?
No, I think I spoke and asked all mine.
Yeah, same. I think there's a lot of things that could have happened. Like whenever there's redemption, twist, whatever, that someone comes back into the game, you always have a lot of ifs. So I was thinking, what if instead of Squin, it would have been Aiden going and then beating John in that challenge? I think that would have placed you way better, because then you don't have that target of having your closest ally there. You would be more of a free agent, right? But of course, no one wants to be voted out or get sacrificed to go to redemption, right? But I think maybe that could have been another whole story. If you had beaten John in that challenge and actually came back, I think that would put you in a better position.
Mm. Well, the plus side is you're now the jury, so we get to see you more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's not over for me just yet. But I think you're probably right, Miguel. Maybe if I'd come into the challenge and beat John, that would have been better for me. But at that point, by that time of night, I think I'd gone 36 hours without sleep, so I wasn't winning that challenge. I would have been on there 10 seconds, the box would have fallen on my head, and I would have been out. So
that's what I love about you, Aiden. You're an honest man. But yeah, it's funny that Jordo mentioned that, because my last question is you're on the jury, which is awesome. I think that's a really cool achievement. I think what's cool about the jury is you have an impact, you have a say, you're there. You're going to be a part of the game until the end. What was it like to know? Obviously you sucked that you were out, but you're part of the jury, and how were you excited to have a say in who ends up winning eventually at the end of the season?
Well, I was excited at first because I meant I could get some sleep with just no one to bother me for 2 hours, so that was good. But it was a really, really long day. But look, it was being on the jury wasn't particularly a goal. If as far as the bucket list was concerned, it was really make merge, win the immunity challenge, probably win the game. Really just fairly short for me. But it actually surprised me by how interesting the experience was. So when people come in, they give you their stories, their perceptions on the game. And I think it was just, as the first drawer in particular, by the time you get to the end, you don't have a very good idea of what's been going on for the last 6 or 7 hours. So my point of view is very, I guess, different as the first drawer compared to others. But I guess I got to learn a lot from being on the jury. So I guess if I played again next time, just say, I think there would be a lot of things I would actually take away from being on the jury that might actually help me. I won't go into more detail so I don't spoil anything, but yeah, it was a good experience. I'm actually really glad I got to be on the jury, more so than I was, excited for it before the game began, I guess.
Yeah, of course. That's awesome, and we loved seeing you play, of course. And as I said, I truly mean it when I think it'd be awesome to see you play again at some point. I definitely think there's a phone call in the future you get hit up, maybe Melbourne Survivor, maybe another Survivor. I don't know. But yeah, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you taking the time. You're kind of the last one of the bunch. Oh, Miguel's gone, but that's okay. But it's awesome. It was awesome to have you on, and yeah, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the year and enjoy the rest of the episodes.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It was really good. Thanks.
Thanks, Aiden.
Awesome, man. I'll speak to you soon, Aiden.
See ya.
Oh, well, it's just me and you.
Just you and me. It's a little
just me
date.
and you. This is very cute. This is what I've wanted all along. Finally, my dream.
Our plans have come through.
Rest in peace, Miguel. 2024 to 2024. He lasted an hour and 35 minutes. He might pop in soon. So how about we skip the last thing and we just get straight to my mountain, because there's less people to disagree with me.
I can't even remember.
So the last thing we're going to discuss. So essentially, it's the same thing, but hopefully Miguel will get it back in and we can chat about it after.
Chat about it when it comes back. Your mountain up.
But let's do it. My mountain for this week. So firstly, just for a little update. This is where we were at last week. Eden on top, Bethany and Andrew at 2. Amy, unfortunately, Rip Queen on the mountain with Pauline and Todd. And then we also had a mix of people. Everyone was on the mountain. I was looking for someone to stand out. And I'm going to tell you here, a little inside information. Someone on that isn't on this mountain currently is on the top this week.
Oh, wow.
So it's a big jump, a very impressive jump this week.
Can I
get? I'm not. No. You can have. Okay, I want you to think of it in your head, and I trust you to be honest about it. But you have something in your head, okay? I don't want to spoil it for everyone else because I'm terrible at giving away my face. I'm terrible.
I'll just wait. Let's go. Let's do it.
So this is what the mountain was here. Put your glasses on, Marcus. Yeah, sorry, I had to look in. I couldn't even read my own bloody presentation. But anyway, enough of the bullying, Survivor Canberra. Go back to editing the next season or whatever you do in your free time. Anyway, this is where the mountain was now, and this is where it's at now. Unfortunately, Aiden's on the side there. He fell. He struggled to climb, and as soon as merge hit, he had a bit of struggle with his climbing boots, and he's off on the side. Rip Aiden. But the cool thing is there's no people on the mountain and people getting up now. Everyone's on the mountain, and they're all going to be ranked because we're at merge. There's enough people now. Everyone is on the mountain in some capacity.
Okay.
So starting off,
big bloody mountain. Here we go.
Starting off is John. It's obvious. Like, I love John. He was very entertaining. If it was purely entertainment perspective, he's probably on the top. But let's be real. Like, he's a man up shit creek without a paddle, and he's in a little bit of trouble here. If he can get out of it, boy, he goes up.
Oh, God.
But
he'll just keep swimming. That guy.
He's in trouble. Next up might surprise people, but it's Pauline. I love Pauline, and she's my queen, and she's still my winner's pick. But I know Aiden defended her, but I still believe that she could have made, and maybe she couldn't have picked it. I know obviously hindsight is great, and I know everything, but I just feel like it would have been a great move to keep Aiden, and I think potentially switching a vote to John just last minute. It could have been a shot in the dark, but it would have worked out. And I definitely believe what she said when she said she's worried about being a goat. I think she has dropped down a bit too much, and she needs to properly pull her head up, or she will have a risk of people perceiving her as a goat, even though she hasn't been a goat throughout the game. She has been involved in stuff, but the issue is perception is reality, and if people don't believe you're playing well, you're going to struggle to get those votes at the end. Next up, Sab. No disrespect to Sab at all. It was just literally, I feel like she wasn't super involved in the episode. I feel like there wasn't too much going on. It's not a good, it's not a bad. It's just I just want to see more. That's a simple answer. Just wasn't as involved in the episode as I wanted her to be. So that's why she's here. And then lastly, Ed. And lastly, Ed. Similar thing. Similar thing. Just both of them were just kind of cruising. They're both just cruising, which is good. It's a winning game. So, but yeah, I just want to see a bit more from them. I think the bottom group needs to make moves to start building that resume up.
The trouble is, though, Marcus, like John's already made lots of moves, but as soon as you start seeing them on episodes, that's when you get worried because then they're probably going to be gone. Because do you know what I mean? So do we want to?
I don't know. Ed's been doing a lot of stuff, and he's doing well. So I don't know. Yeah, it's perhaps just reality.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to keep going because it's almost past 9. Next up is Oscar. I was really impressed with his thought process with stuff, particular about like making moves now to set him up. But I feel like it was also smart to not rock the boat. I feel like he initially was like, I want to do a move. And then I feel like he read the room that it wasn't going that way. So he's like, let's just keep it simple. Let's just go Aiden. Let's just go John. Keep it simple. I thought it was very smart of him. He's definitely someone that I feel like I was worried could jump up out of nowhere and go a bit crazy, but he was very good at being excited, being aware that he needs to make moves, but not making them. And I think it was the correct move for him. Next up is Andrew. Purely based off the Dodo reference, that was very funny. I had no idea what he was talking about, but I loved the description. I think he's the narrator of the whole season, and he's brilliant. The more Andrew, the better. And I also loved that, like, the fact that the amount of people that said that Andrew's playing crazy and that we don't like Andrew and no one likes Andrew from a strategy point, but he was never really even considered as a vote. I thought that was very impressive. It clearly shows that even though the edit is showing him to not have a lot of agency, I still think he does. Maybe not with everyone, but with a core group of people that are keeping his name out of conversations. So that's why Andrew's there. And then we got Todd. Todd's a bit of a mix where you got Oscar clearly pointing out that Todd is a threat. That's a big red flag to me. Is like, ooh, I'm going to add Miguel back in real quick. Miguel, hello. You're back.
Where did you go? The toilet?
Sorry for that. I have no idea what happened. I lost connection on my phone.
It's okay.
We're voting you out.
Anyway, we're halfway. We're halfway through my mountains.
I got voted out like last minute. Sorry.
Also, you didn't see this, but Eden put "Rest in peace, Miguel." 2024 to 2024. So.
Well, yeah.
But anyway, we're talking about Todd, and I feel like Todd was I would have put Todd higher, but I rewatched the episode, and I remember when Oscar brought up his name, and I went, "Ooh, that's a bit of a red flag," because Todd is definitely. I thought he was playing a very under the radar game, and the fact that people like Oscar are pointing that out is he could be in trouble in the next few episodes. But he does have a lot of agency, and he is playing a good game. It's just about whether he can shoot Oscar before Oscar shoots him. Then we get to the final 3. It's kind of these guys have been the consistent ones for me, but one in particular is a shock for some people. I'd say. So Eden is on the list. I purely just based off. It's kind of tough because I feel like he did stuff and he was in the game, and I feel like he did actually get his name out of the conversations. It was so like I don't think he particularly needed to play his advantage, but I felt like John was just so obvious about it that it was like, why not? I'm just gonna play it because let's just keep this simple. I'm just gonna stay safe. Anyway. And it's like, why not, right? It's technically it's a move that you can add to his resume because by the time he gets a final 3, people are going to get murky memory of what actually happened, and it's a move that can be played. He's dropped down a little bit, but yeah, that's where I'm at. James, Todd is way too low. I'm not sure if you saw I explained. I'm just predicting that Todd might go early. Todd might go in the next few votes. That's my guess. That's my prediction. Throwing it out there. But anyway, number 2 is Bethany. Really impressed by her. The fact that she's consistently in the minority with everyone and she's just never really even considered is great. I feel like she's definitely playing on the girl alliance, sisterhood, all that stuff. I think that stuff is awesome. I think it's very smart. I would 100% be doing it if I was her. And I think she's doing very brilliant with the person at the top who has barely been on the mountain all season. And I was called out a little bit by it. By some people, and they're right. And I've been disrespecting this person for far too long. Top of the mountain is Lauren. She's she is the alpha. She's the alpha. She's got Ed in her pocket, and she's saying, "Ed, come with me, you little strong boy, and I'll make you look like you're in charge, but I'm in charge." And she's got, and you can argue that Bethany and Eden convinced her, whatever, but it was equal, and she is using all the things. The fact that even John mentioned that she gave John the information about Aiden, that even solidified her as the top. I felt that she's in with everyone. I think people are aware of her threat, but they're almost intimidated by her. I think that's something that's definitely a thing right now, is that people are worried that if they're going to go for Lauren, it's just not going to work. They don't have the numbers. Like, she's got, Ed and John and Bethany, and there's a lot of people there that you're going to have to really hardly sell to get Loz out. And then the issue is, when you hard sell for someone, they'll find out. And that's when I think Loz is that are dangerous. She is someone that she'll go for you hard, and she will not care at all. Like, I think the stuff about Andrew and how honest she was about her confessionals was fantastic. To me, she was great. She's the top of the mountain for today. Congratulations to Lauren. Very, very impressed. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if she's there for most of the season. I don't see her going anytime soon. If she does, it's a surprise, like someone who plays an idol or something like that. So that's the merge mountain. Everyone's on the list, and we'll the way it will work is, moving forward, you'll get grayed out if you go. So that's kind of the list. What do we think, guys? Do we have any changes? Any personal disagreements? I know James was hating on the Todd pick, but what do we think?
No, well, definitely Lauren on the top. I knew that would be your pick, and that's what I got from the episode as well. So when that was one of our topics we're going to talk about, she was the first person that I came out with. Like, she's calling the shots, but also not calling the shots. So she's sort of calling them out and then letting them decide what they want to do, but not going against her, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're too scared to go against her as such, intimidated, as you said. So, yeah, she definitely was calling the shots in this game. And then she's also just won immunity for this round. So, like, she's definitely at the top in more ways than one right now.
I wouldn't expect less from someone that had a t-shirt that said "Old School Survivor." Like, on the first episode, I was like, okay, like this is a fan. Like, people keep saying like Eden is a big threat and like it's playing game, but she literally has a Survivor logo on her shirt, and no one's looking at her like that much of a threat level. I think Lost is playing a great game, but it's risky being like the leader at this point in the merge, right? I think she might have some trouble later on, but as it is right now, I think she's the most powerful player at the episode.
And yeah, actually, it's funny to say, because a lot of discussions before this episode, I felt like was, like she's making Ed the leader, and she is actually the leader, but Ed's the leader. But I feel like Ed is not playing, and it's kind of revealing who the real leader is. Like, she's and it's not even her fault. It's Ed not playing and not playing into the I'm going to be in charge, I want to say what happens. A lot of his thing is like, a lot of his voting confessionals are, I don't really want to vote for this person, but I've been told to vote for this person. And he's making it very clear that he is not in charge. So I feel like definitely what she's doing is, and what I think she might be doing moving forward, is getting Bethany and Eden together, getting Sab together, getting those players together, and then pushing the whole, Ed's not in charge, but these people are dangerous, and we're going to get rid of these people. And then getting people maybe like John, maybe like Ed, together to get rid of them. I think I'd love, we haven't seen much of it, but I love when a strong female character grabs some guys and says, come with me, and I'm going to drag you to the end, and I'm going to beat you guys clearly at the end. I think right now, if you take Lauren, John, and Ed, and you take them in a final tribal council, no questions have to be asked. Lauren clean sweeps instantly. So if that's what her plan is, I think it's working brilliantly. Will she get there? It's easier said than done, but yeah, I think this episode's been really awesome. An hour and 50, guys. I think that's the record for this season. So thank you so much for coming on board, Miguel. It's been actually fantastic. Jordo, you said something to say something. Go ahead.
I just want to point out one thing that was great in the episode. That was like,
yes, love it.
Takeaways. Did you see the size of Ed's quads? Good grief! How did he not win that challenge?
That's the biggest thing.
He is a good-looking man.
Brought up in here because we couldn't bypass that. Like, they were bloody hell. They had their own bloody postcode.
Anyway, they were pretty big. They were impressive. And I expect nothing less from you, Jordo. So I love that little addition. What a way to finish. Miguel, it was really awesome to have you on. I think you'll be on a few more in the future, hopefully. We have a lot of different people coming in and out, and it's going to be awesome. We have I think 4 or 5 more episodes to go. It's going to be really awesome. Lots of stuff to discuss. Please, to everyone, if you are... I know mostly this is cast and crew who are watching this because it's late at night and we're all nutters. But if you are a random person that stumbles across this, Canberra Survivor, I could not suggest it more highly if I could. I literally could talk about it for an entire 24 hours straight, why it's a beneficial thing to do. Dan has so much thought and effort he puts into this community. And as what Aiden said, he was super nervous about how he's going to be perceived. But I feel like Dan does a really good job of not putting anyone down for entertainment purposes. He can make an entertaining show without someone looking dumb or silly or bad or evil. He makes everyone be authentic to themselves and edits in an entertaining way that reflects what actually happens. And so I definitely think if you have any inkling of applying, please do, because I promise you, once the applications are closed, you're going to regret it. You get to meet some amazing people like Jordo and like Miguel, and maybe you'll eventually pop up on one of these podcasts being interviewed by one of us losers and discussing all this stuff. I'm more talking about myself. But anyway, I'm tired, and this has been awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I think a video might play after this. If it doesn't and it ends, then it ends. But if it does, check out Dan and Liv as they chat about the casting process.
Season 5.
Bye-bye, guys.
What in the world? Survivor Canberra's back in 2025.
That's right, Liv. Applications to play Season 5 are open now.
If you've ever wanted to experience Survivor, this is your chance. And the best part is, Survivor Canberra all happens over one weekend.
Yep, we're filming Survivor Canberra Season 5 on the 12th and 13th of April 2025, and we promise it will be an experience like no other.
If you want to have a unique weekend, challenge yourself and make new friends, apply for Survivor Canberra Season 5 now by clicking the link below.
Applications are open until the 17th of January 2025.
Don't believe us? Survivor Canberra's own Sav is here with her own testimonial.
Playing Survivor Canberra was a once-in-a-lifetime experience and was so much fun.
Cut. Sab. You only said it 2 times. You meant to say it 5 times.
Playing Survivor Canberra truly was an experience of a lifetime and was so much fun.
Cut! Sab. In the script here, you have to say it 5 times. You only said it twice.
Are you serious? I feel like I said it 5 times.
No, you only said it twice.
Oh, man.
It's just like Season 3 all over again.
Seriously though, playing Survivor Canberra was an experience you'll never forget. I had the best time, made amazing friends, and got to play the greatest game in the world. And if you get out there and give it a go, I guarantee you'll have fun. Oh my god, I did it! What in the world?